Look at your Instagram feed. You see those van life influencers waking up to a perfect sunrise in Big Sur, sipping artisanal coffee in a $150,000 Mercedes Sprinter. It looks like the ultimate freedom, right? Hold up, that is a total lie. It is pure gaslighting. For thousands of people in California, the van life is not a choice, it is a trap. While you are dreaming of nomadism and aesthetic travel, an underground class of Vanlords is out here charging $600 a month. For a rotting 1980s RV with no engine and zero plumbing, parked on a cracked curb in San Jose. This is not minimalism. This is the new American feudalism. You are not a nomad. You are just a high-tech peasant in a metal box. The system is not broken. It is functioning with lethal efficiency to monetize your desperation. Companies and cities do not love you. They just want to manipulate your gears until you have nothing left. Ready to shift? Let's dive into the mechanism of the RV homelessness crisis. First, let's talk about the Vanlords. These guys have figured out the ultimate glitch in the housing market. They have basically found a way to hack the system of real estate without actually owning any real estate. It is the peak of rental arbitrage. Think about it. A traditional landlord has to deal with property taxes, mortgage payments, insurance, and those pesky things called tenant rights. But the Vanlord plays by a different set of rules entirely. They are the entrepreneurs of the gray market, the kings of the concrete, and the ultimate middlemen of the housing crisis. They have realized that in a world where a studio apartment in San Jose costs $3,000 a month, a metal box on wheels is a gold mine. Let us look at the business model, because honestly, it is a business genius move if you ignore the minor detail of human morality. They go to police auctions or browse the dark depths of Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist to find what we call junkers. We are talking about 1980s recreational vehicles that have seen better decades. Most of them do not even have an engine that turns over. Some have holes in the floor where you can see the asphalt passing underneath. Most of them have zero functioning plumbing. To any normal person, it is scrap metal. To a Vanlord, it is a high-yield investment vehicle. Literally. They pick these things up for maybe $500 or $1,000. That is the initial capital expenditure. $1,000. Once they acquire the asset, they do not fix it. Why would they? That would eat into the margins. Instead, they use a heavy-duty truck to tow these decaying hulks onto a public street. They look for those sweet spots near industrial parks or under highway overpasses where the parking enforcement is a bit lazy. And then they put it up for rent. We are talking $600, $800, sometimes even $1,000 a month for the privilege of sleeping in a moldy tin can. Think about the math for a second. If a Vanlord buys a junker for $1,000 and rents it for $500 a month, they have achieved a 100% return on investment in just 2 months. After that, it is pure, unadulterated profit. There are no property taxes because the house is a vehicle. There is no maintenance because the tenant has zero leverage to demand it. There are zero tenant rights, and what is the best part for the Vanlord? In a traditional rental, if you want to evict someone, you have to go through the courts. You have to file paperwork, wait months, and deal with a judge. It is a massive headache for the landlord, and it is a huge skill issue. But in the Vanlord economy, the eviction notice is a tow truck. If the tenant complains about the lack of water or the smell of sewage, or if they are just 1 day late on the rent, the Vanlord just hooks up the house and tows it 3 blocks away. Or worse, they tow it to a junkyard while the tenant is at work. Imagine coming back from a 12-hour shift at a warehouse only to find your entire life has been towed away because you asked for a working light bulb. That is the L ratio to end all L ratios. The Vanlords are effectively monetizing the sidewalk. They are taking public space, which belongs to everyone, and turning it into a private revenue stream by exploiting the most vulnerable people in the state. They cannot easily stop them because the inventory is mobile. And what about the city? The city is stuck in a loading screen, right? By the time the city sends a notice, the Vanlord has already moved the fleet 2 miles down the road. It is a game of cat and mouse where the mouse has a fleet of flatbed trucks and the cat is a slow-moving bureaucracy. Is it a skill issue on the part of the tenants? Or who would actually pay for this? No. It is a survival issue. When the entry-level rent for a legitimate apartment is more than your entire monthly take-home pay, you look for the glitch. You look for the cheaper option. These are families, tech contractors, and service workers who are doing everything right but still cannot afford a roof. They are not choosing the van life for the vibes or the aesthetic. They are choosing it because the alternative is a sleeping bag on the bare pavement. The Vanlords know this. They smell the desperation from miles away. They are not providing a service. They are predatory lenders who deal in sheet metal and rust. This is the ultimate evolution of rent-seeking behavior. It is peak capitalism in the 2020s. We have moved past the era where you need to own land to be a lord. Now, all you need is a towing hitch and a complete lack of a conscience. The Vanlords have realized that the most valuable thing in California is not the tech or the wine or the movies. It is the simple, basic human need for four walls and a door that locks, even if those walls are made of rotting fiberglass and the door is held shut with a bungee cord. The system is not just allowing this to happen, it is practically begging for it. When you make it impossible to build new housing, you create a vacuum. And in a vacuum, the most ruthless players will always step in to fill the space. The Vanlord is not a bug in the system. The Vanlord is the logical conclusion of the system. They are the ones who have mastered the art of the shift, while everyone else is still trying to figure out how to pay for a security deposit on a place they will never own. This is the underground rental market of Silicon Valley. It is a world where the sidewalk is the sales floor and a rusted-out Winnebago is a premium suite. It is a world where the American dream has been traded in for a month-to-month lease on a vehicle that cannot even drive. The Vanlords are winning because they understood the mechanism before anyone else did. They understood that in a crisis, the person who controls the shelter controls the people. And they are cashing those $600 checks every single month while the rest of us are busy arguing about zoning laws and parking permits. It is cold, it is calculated, and it is the new normal. Now let's talk about the absolute insanity of the ground itself. In San Francisco, a literal parking spot for an RV can cost you $2,500 a month. Think about that number for a second. Let it sink into your brain. $2,500. That is not for a penthouse. That is not for a studio with a view of the Golden Gate Bridge. That is for the dirt, folks. No walls, no roof, no insulation, and definitely no marble countertops. Just a rectangle of asphalt, maybe 20 feet long if you are lucky. It is the ultimate concrete arbitrage. We have reached a point in the American experiment where the most expensive thing you can buy is literally nothing. Just the right to exist in a specific geographic coordinate on a patch of hardened oil and rock. User interaction time. I want you to really think about your life choices. You are paying an entry-level software engineer's take-home pay just to exist in a 20-foot space. If you're making $70,000 a year after taxes, you are basically working every single hour of your life just to give $2,500 to someone who owns a patch of gray ground. That is what the internet trolls will tell you. Is it a skill issue? They will say you just need to grind harder, learn to code, or start a side hustle. But that is pure gaslighting. When the baseline for survival is $2,500 for a parking spot, the math has officially left the building. You could be the most productive worker in the world and you are still getting an L ratio on your bank account every single month. Why is this happening? It is the mechanism of zip code domination. When companies like Apple and Google dominate the entire landscape, they do not just build offices. They create a gravity well that sucks up every available square inch of land. Every single curb, every alleyway, and every abandoned lot becomes premium real estate. The engineers at these companies are making $300,000 a year so they can afford the $5,000 apartments. But the person who cleans those offices, the person who drives the shuttle bus, they are the ones competing for that $2,500 rectangle of asphalt. The person who serves the artisanal coffee we talked about earlier, they are forced into the concrete economy. We have entered an era where the middle class is being redefined in the most depressing way possible. Back in the day, being middle class meant you had a suburban home, 2 cars, and a retirement fund. In the 2030s California economy, the middle class is now defined by whether you actually own the RV you are sleeping in. If you own the title to that 1995 Winnebago, congratulations, you are the new aristocracy of the sidewalk. You have equity. You are not paying the Vanlord his $600 cut, but you are still stuck paying the concrete tax. You are paying for the privilege of not being towed. Let us break down the psychology of the $2,500 concrete. Imagine the daily routine. You wake up in a metal box. It is freezing cold because fiberglass has the insulation value of a wet paper bag. You step out onto the asphalt that you pay a fortune for. There is no yard. There is no white picket fence. There is just the sound of traffic and the smell of exhaust. And yet you have to tell yourself that this is okay because you are in the center of the world. You are in the hub of innovation. You are paying $2,500 for the vibe of Silicon Valley, even if that vibe currently smells like a leaking septic tank. It is a supply issue disguised as a lifestyle choice. The people in charge love to talk about density and urban planning, but they refuse to build the one thing that would actually fix this: actual houses. Instead, they let the curb become the new frontier of development. They have commodified the very ground we walk on. It is the final stage of land grabs. First, they took the forests, then they took the suburbs. Now, they are charging you for the edge of the road. If you think this is just a California problem, you are coping. This is a preview of the future for every major city. The mechanism is simple. You limit the supply of housing until the price of a bedroom hits infinity. Then you start charging for the living room, then the closet. And finally, when there is nothing left inside, you start charging for the outside. You are paying $2,500 for the dirt because the system has decided that your right to shelter is less important than a tech billionaire's view of the skyline. This is the concrete trap. You are working for the land, but you do not own the land. You are paying for the space, but the space does not care about you. It is a sterile, hard, gray reality that reminds you every single day that you are just a line item on someone else's balance sheet. When the dirt costs more than a mortgage in the Midwest, you have to ask yourself if the gear you are shifting is even connected to the engine anymore. Or are you just spinning your wheels on a $2,500 patch of asphalt while the Vanlords and the tech giants laugh all the way to the bank? Stay sharp because the concrete does not have a heart. It just has a price tag. And right now, that price tag is designed to keep you exactly where you are. On the curb, in the cold, paying for the privilege of standing still in a world that is moving way too fast for you to catch up. Now we need to address the biggest lie of all, the grand illusion that keeps this entire machine running. The state of California and the city governments love to use a very specific term when they talk about these RV parks and roadside settlements. They call them transitional housing. They want you to believe that the metal box you are living in is just a bridge, a temporary fix, a little pit stop on your way back to a real apartment with 4 walls and a flushing toilet. But here's your hot take alert for the day. There is no transition coming. There is no shore on the other side of that bridge. For the thousands of people living on the curbs of Silicon Valley, the RV is not a pit stop. It is the finish line. Let us look at the cold, hard numbers that the politicians try to bury under layers of bureaucratic jargon. California is currently facing a housing shortage of over 3.5 million units. Think about that scale, 3.5 million. That is not a minor supply chain issue. That is a systemic collapse. To fix that, the state would need to build houses at a rate they have not seen since the 1950s. But they cannot, because the system is designed to prevent it. Between the environmental regulations, the zoning laws, and the NIMBYs who treat a new apartment building like a radioactive waste dump, the cost of building a single unit of affordable housing has hit $700,000 or more. In some parts of San Francisco, it is over $1 million. So when the government says they are going to move people indoors, they are gaslighting you. How can they move you into a studio apartment that costs $1 million to build when you are making $20 an hour flipping burgers or guarding a tech campus? The math does not work. It never will. The RV is the only thing that fills the gap between the $1 million studio and the sidewalk. And that gap is not a gap anymore. It is a canyon. It is a permanent feature of the landscape. This is the mechanism of the permanent stopgap. The system has realized that it cannot house its workers, but it still needs those workers to keep the coffee flowing and the servers running. So they have legalized the slum. They just call it a safe parking program. They give you a permit to sleep in your vehicle in a designated lot with a portable toilet and maybe a security guard. They tell you it is to help you get back on your feet. But you have been on that lot for 3 years. Your kids are going to school from a parking lot. You are living in a stopgap that has become your forever home. This is where we talk about the generational L ratio. If you are part of the 2030 generation and you did not inherit a mortgage from 1990, you are effectively locked out of the old version of the American dream. Back then, you could buy a house for 3 times your annual salary. Now, it is 15 times, 20 times. The system is functioning exactly as intended to protect the property values of the people who already got theirs. They do not want new housing because it might lower their equity by 5%. They would rather see a line of rusted Winnebagos outside their front gate than see a multifamily apartment building on their block. Think about the psychological warfare of the word transitional. It is designed to keep you from revolting. If you think your situation is temporary, you will endure it. You will put up with the leaking roof. You will put up with the cold nights. You will put up with the landlord taking half your paycheck. Because you tell yourself it is just for now. You are just in a transition phase. But as the years go by, you realize the transition is the destination. You are living in the new standard of living for the working class in the 21st century. You are an NPC in someone else's real estate game. The city officials love to announce new initiatives with big press conferences. They talk about $500 million for homeless services. It sounds like a lot of money until you realize that most of that money goes to consultants, nonprofit executives, and temporary shelters that cost more to run than a luxury hotel. It is a massive industry of poverty management. They are not trying to solve the problem. They are trying to manage the optics. They want to keep the tents and the RVs just out of sight enough so the tourists do not get uncomfortable. They are managing the decay, not fixing the foundation. And while they manage the decay, the Vanlords are the ones providing the actual inventory. They are the ones providing the housing that the government refuses to build. In a twisted way, the Vanlord is the most honest player in this entire economy. They do not pretend to care about your transition. They do not give you a speech about dignity. They just tell you the price. $600 for the box. Pay up or get towed. No gaslighting, just pure predatory clarity. You see, the trap is built on the hope that things will get better. But the structure of the economy says they will not. The cost of living is moving at a speed that your wages can never catch up to. Every time you save an extra $100, the rent on your parking spot or your RV goes up by $200. You are on a treadmill that is tilted upward and the speed is set to maximum. You are not moving forward. You are just burning energy to stay in the same place. How long can you live in a stopgap before you realize it is a cage? The 2030 generation is starting to wake up to this. They are realizing that the RV life is not a lifestyle choice they saw on YouTube. It is a form of survival in a state that has decided that people are less valuable than parking spaces. The RV is the new basement apartment. It is the new tenement house. It is the new normal. The system wants you to think this is a skill issue. They want you to think if you just worked a little harder or got a better degree, you could escape the parking lot. But when the entry level for a house is $1 million, that is not a skill issue. That is a math problem that has no solution for the average person. You are being held in a permanent state of transition because the people who own the land have no incentive to let you in. They have built a wall of zoning and regulations that is higher than any physical border. So the next time you hear a politician talk about transitional housing, remember the mechanism. Remember that they are just trying to buy more time. They are trying to keep the gears turning while the engine is on fire. They want you to stay in your RV, pay your Vanlord, and keep showing up to work until you are too old to be useful. That is the cold, hard reality of the California dream in 2026. It is a dream you can only have if you are asleep in a 1988 Fleetwood Southwind parked under a bridge. The reality is cold. It is a sub-zero, bone-chilling reality that no amount of California sunshine can ever mask. We have spent this entire deep dive looking at the gears and the levers of the Vanlord economy, and now it is time for the final verdict. California currently has the 5th highest rate of homelessness in the United States, and I want you to listen very carefully to what I am about to say. It is not because people are lazy. It is not because they lack ambition, or because they have a skill issue. It is quite simply because the math does not work. The equation of the American dream has been rewritten by a generation of gatekeepers who decided that their property values were more important than your survival. You have been gaslit for years. They told you that if you just worked hard, if you went to the right school, and if you secured that tech job or that service management position, you would be rewarded with a piece of the pie. But they forgot to mention that the pie has been locked in a vault and the key was thrown into the Pacific Ocean in 1998. The system is not broken. I need you to understand this fundamental truth if you want to survive. The system is functioning exactly as it was intended. It was designed to protect the equity and the wealth of those who are already inside the fortress. It was designed to ensure that the people who bought their homes for $100,000 in the 1980s can see those homes appreciate to $3 million today, even if it means the people serving them lunch have to sleep in a rusted-out 1985 Dodge Ram. We are witnessing the birth of a new feudalism. In the old days, the lord owned the land and the peasant worked it in exchange for protection and a place to sleep. Today, the Vanlord owns the scrap metal and the city owns the asphalt, and you are the one paying for the privilege of existing in the cracks. You are paying a literal rent on your breath. Think about the psychological toll of that. Every single morning you wake up, and your first thought is not about your career, or your family, or your future. Your first thought is whether a tow truck is coming to take your bedroom away. You are living in a state of constant, low-level trauma that the system calls a transitional phase. It is a total L ratio for your mental health. The mechanism of this crisis is self-sustaining. High rents drive people into RVs. The presence of RVs makes the property owners angry. The angry property owners demand more regulations. The regulations make it harder to build houses. The lack of houses drives the rents even higher. And the cycle repeats until the entire middle class is squeezed out into the gutter. This is the mechanism of displacement. It is a slow-motion eviction of an entire generation. They are not just taking your money. They are taking your time, your stability, and your dignity. They are turning the most prosperous state in the richest country in history into a collection of high-tech shanty towns. If you are looking for a sign to move, this is it. This is your hot take for the day. Stop trying to win a game that was rigged before you were even born. There is no prize for being the last person to leave the parking lot. There is no medal for paying $600 a month to a Vanlord while you inhale the exhaust of a city that does not want you there. California is a beautiful place, but beauty does not pay the rent on an asphalt rectangle. The system has decided that you are a line item, an adjustable cost that can be pushed onto the street when it becomes too expensive to house you. Do not wait for a political savior. Do not wait for the $500 million initiative to reach your curb. That money is being eaten by the same machine that created the problem. It is being spent on committees and studies and temporary fixes that only serve to prolong the agony. The people in charge are not incentivized to solve this because a solution would mean lowering the property values of their primary voters. They are managing your decline, not your recovery. They are keeping the gears shifting just enough to prevent a total collapse while they extract every last drop of value from your labor. You need to realize that your value is not defined by the zip code you cannot afford. You are being exploited by a class of people who have mastered the art of renting out the public commons. The Vanlord is just the bottom feeder of a much larger ecosystem of greed. They are the ones who have the guts to do what the tech giants and the real estate moguls do with spreadsheets and lobbyists. They are all part of the same mechanism. They all want the same thing. They want you to stay exactly where you are, paying for the right to stand still. Stay sharp. The world is changing, and the old rules are being rewritten in real time. If you stay in the loop, you will eventually become part of the inventory. You will be just another unit in the Vanlord fleet, a mobile asset that can be towed away at a moment's notice. You deserve more than a 20-foot box. You deserve more than a $1,000 view of a freeway overpass. You deserve a system that values your humanity more than a parking permit. But the system will not give that to you. You have to take it for yourself by recognizing the trap and refusing to play the game. Stop contributing your life force to a mechanism that is designed to grind you down. If the math does not work, stop trying to solve the equation. Find a new equation. Find a place where a house is a home, not a speculative asset class. Find a place where you do not have to pay a Vanlord for the privilege of breathing San Jose exhaust. The gear is in your hands. You can choose to stay in this cycle of debt and desperation, or you can choose to shift into a different reality. It will not be easy. It will require you to walk away from the glamour and the hype of the California dream. But that dream has turned into a nightmare for anyone who does not have a 7-figure bank account. It is time to wake up. It is time to see the Vanlord for what he is. It is time to see the city for what it has become. A high-priced, high-tech feudal estate where the workers are treated like disposable parts. Stay sharp or you will find yourself paying $600 to a Vanlord for the privilege of breathing San Jose exhaust. That is the final word. That is the mechanism of your destruction if you do not act. The gears are moving, and they do not care if you are caught in the teeth. It is up to you to move. It is up to you to shift. Do not let the metal box become your coffin. Do not let the asphalt become your final resting place. That is it for today. Stay sharp and keep shifting. You know the drill. Like and subscribe.